It's time now to sample Triumph's all-new retro rocket, the Thruxton 900. No question, this modern time machine certainly looks the part. Just check out the clip-on handlebars and rear set foot pegs. Can you say 1960s English cafe racer? At the heart of this motorcycle is a revamped version of Triumph's original 790cc Bonneville. However, the air-cooled, twin-cylinder Thruxton gets a bigger cylinder bore treatment, bigger carbs along with new cam profiles, higher compression, and freer breathing megaphone pipes. It all adds up to more pony power over the Bonnie. Just the thing when you're topping the ton. So how does it all work? Well, this week we invited a Ducati owner who just happens to be a big fan of the cafe racer look to sample the Thruxton. And here's what Mark Kazmarek had to say after a day of spirited riding.
Well, Mark, I thought this old World War II Air Force base would be the perfect backdrop for a discussion about this bike, because I was referring to it earlier as the Mini Cooper of motorcycles. Yes. They've really tugged at our heartstrings with this one, eh?
They certainly have. They got the styling right on for this kind of bike. I'm looking for Steve McQueen or maybe Mike Halewood to come out and have a look at it.
Well, you look like you were ready to top the ton.
This bike will easily do the ton.
Yeah.
Very smooth, nice power, all the way up to the top. Quite a good time driving it.
Now, it's a 900cc parallel twin designed to look like the old ones. What did you think of that motor?
I've had some experience on older parallel twins. Very smooth, a little bit buzzy in the upper rev ranges, but other than that, it was smooth, pretty good torque. It's not a race bike, but it's a really good street bike.
What about the sound?
Sound is a little conservative, shall we say. The motor itself has that nice British parallel twin growl, and the pipes themselves sound okay, but first thing I would probably do is look for something a little more freer breathing.
Yeah. What about the transmission and the clutch? How did you find it for shifting?
Well, I had to say, Dave, that this bike is probably one of the nicest shifting, nicest drivelines I've had the pleasure of riding for a long time. Very little driveline lash when you put the accelerate through the gears. Very smooth, no lurching, no clunking of gears. So I found that one's one of the top points of the bike, I think, was the transmission.
We want the bike to look old-fashioned. We want it to have that feel. What about the brakes? Did they feel old-fashioned?
No, not at all. The single disc for a lot of people might seem to be not enough, but especially in the street usage, it was very smooth, very firm braking.
When I first threw a leg over this bike, I loved the feel of those clip-ons. I liked the riding position. It really felt like a flash from the past. What did you think of the modern version of it?
Absolutely. The thing is, they're surprisingly comfortable because the clip-ons aren't as low as they look. I think they built the steering crown very high on this bike, so the bars are not as radical as the bike would suggest, but very comfortable riding position. The seat is wide. It almost looks like an original Triumph seat from the 60s. But the only complaint I'd have is you can't read the lights on the dash in anything but the dark.
Yeah, this little pod here, in direct sunlight, it's virtually impossible.
Virtually impossible. But the bike itself felt great riding, and I have to say that the mirrors didn't buzz at all, not even up over 6,000 RPM. And otherwise the controls were smooth, not at all like the old bikes. The grips and the levers are very comfortable.
Describe the experience of riding the bike. How did it feel putting it through some of the paces today?
Facing the wind, for those people who aren't used to a bare bike like this, it might be a little bit noisy, but no wind buffeting. So you're down, hunkered over the tank, moving along nicely, especially on the roads we were on today with the curves back and forth. It takes you back 20 years. Still, it's a modern bike. Suspension was very smooth. Ideal for somebody who likes to get out on a Sunday morning and enjoy themselves. And the experience, as you point out, you want to pretend you're at the Isle of Man.
Anything you didn't like?
Probably the only thing that I would say is a negative for me was that I found that the heat off the engine was a bit much, especially if you're in city traffic. And the tank is nice and narrow, but you can't get your knees right up against it without touching the engine. So I think if Triumph still makes those big rubber tank pads on there, that might help a little bit, keep your legs away.
Right.
The mufflers were a little quiet, I think, and and I just enjoyed the ride.
So who do you think would be interested in a bike like this? Who's the customer?
I think that it could be any one of two people. One would be somebody who remembers these bikes when they were the old style Triumphs and BSAs, wants to get back onto it but doesn't want to have the fiddling with it all the time.
Yeah.
It's a modern bike, I expect it to be fairly reliable. The other would be somebody young who's getting into that, as you say, Mini Cooper or New Beetle phase. It's a great bike because it's got the look and it's still a very practical and easy to ride bike.
So in your opinion, Triumph did their homework and they've hit the mark?
Certainly did. I mean, the overall look and feel of the bike is exactly a cafe racer from the 60s. People were stopping to look at the bike. I mean, it really attracts attention and sounds good, even if I complain about the mufflers a little bit, and rides great, so I think that they hit the mark right on.
Great. Glad you enjoyed riding it.
Thank you, Dave.